When I first saw the trailer for SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake, I was ecstatic. I'll be the first one to admit that I haven't seen a new episode of SpongeBob in probably a decade at this point, but the trailer was funny, quirky, and well animated. Purple Lamp Studios' previous game Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated was a remaster of a classic, well-received game. But how would they fare when tasked with coming up with a completely new game? Would the game suffer from the same issues as the show, or would this be a return to form for the character? In today's video, I plan to find out just that. But before I get into all that, I just want to thank THQ for providing the channel with a free review code, and make sure you tune in to the end of the video to find out how you can support the channel and save money in the process. Without further ado, this is SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake. SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake released on January 31st, 2023 for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. The footage you're seeing today was captured entirely from the PC version of the game. The Cosmic Shake gets going pretty quickly, where after a short tutorial, SpongeBob and Patrick head to their favorite amusement park, Glove World. While they're there, they encounter a strange wagon that appears out of nowhere. SpongeBob grabs a glowing bottle of bubble soap, and the mermaid behind the counter, Madame Cassandra, explains that with this soap, SpongeBob can wish anything he wants into existence. Of course, SpongeBob, being who he is, takes the soap without question. We move forward a bit to where SpongeBob and Patrick are making wishes with their new toy. He wishes that Patrick will have the most balloony adventure of his life, Squidward will finally be appreciated for his art, and that the world will see how amazing Sandy is. We skip ahead again to see all of Bikini Bottom having their wishes made. When Patrick realizes the bottle isn't what it seems, Bikini Bottom is suddenly ripped apart, his friends sucked into a portal, and Patrick turned into a floating balloon. The wishes did come true, and it's up to SpongeBob to save his friends and bring order back to Bikini Bottom. Madame Cassandra explains that by wishing as many times as they did, they squeezed all of the cosmic jelly out of the world, and it's up to SpongeBob and Patrick to bring it back to her. She's clearly using SpongeBob for her own selfish reasons, but we don't know exactly what they are yet. She explains that SpongeBob can use the various portals around Bikini Bottom to travel to these worlds to save his friends using level-specific costumes. The costumes can range from a cowboy getup for an Old West level, or an eye patch and a peg leg for a pirate level. Each level has a specific costume assigned to it. You don't have to wear that costume, and there are more costumes you can unlock either through stored progression or by collecting cosmic jelly. I tended to just stick to the costume that was given to me though. It felt appropriate and made more sense given the context. In total, there are 7 wish worlds, and the wrecked Bikini Bottom acts like your hub world. In each level, one of SpongeBob's friends is either the villain of said world, or they play a major part in it. For example, there's a movie world, and Squidward is the director of said film, with SpongeBob being the star and Sandy being the villain. Each world has a very specific theme based off of a location from the show. In one world, you're sent back to prehistoric kelp forest, another an Old West version of Jellyfish Fields, or a Halloween-themed version of Rock Bottom. The levels are beautifully detailed with recognizable landmarks and characters that never fail to put a smirk on my face. Speaking on those characters a bit more, the main cast from the show voices every character here, and they all sound amazing.
You're under arrest, red-handed bandit!
Like I was saying, SpongeBob, you gotta take me back! I beg you! This old soft shell won't last a day in jail!
One of my biggest issues with Battle for Bikini Bottom was its lack of Clancy Brown, the voice actor for Mr. Krabs. I'm not trying to rag on the voice actor they hired for Battle for Bikini Bottom in particular, but his voice just doesn't do it for me.
So, do you want to trade shiny objects for a golden spatula?
The visuals are also vastly improved over the previous game. Every character is so expressive with fluid animation and shading that brings these characters properly into 3D. It really does help with your immersion into the world. And I know I sound silly when I say that when referring to a SpongeBob game, but it's true. The Cosmic Shake feels like a 7-part miniseries of the show, and I love that. I feel that when adapting a property to a new media, the most important thing is to make that adaptation feel like its source material. It doesn't have to be word for word or play by play, but the tone has to be similar. I love how they've taken something bland like a loading screen in a video game and instead inserted the SpongeBob title screens. The developers have nailed the overall vibe of the show and the Cosmic Shake, and it deserves praise. And just as I've praised that, I'm gonna praise the gameplay as well. The Cosmic Shake on the surface is a standard 3D platformer. You run, jump, climb, slide, and collect various collectibles to unlock new costumes, new worlds, etc. But two of the most important things to me in a platformer are the controls and the level design. If either of these these are subpar, then the entire experience is ruined. I'm happy to say that the Cosmic Shake was one of the easiest games to pick up and play that I think I've ever played. The controls are responsive, the levels are easy to understand, and when you do fail, it's not too punishing. To me, that's a good thing because you have to remember that this is a kid's game after all. That's not to say that you won't enjoy it as an adult, but if you're looking for a difficult game, I would stay clear of this one. In the Cosmic Shake, there's only one playable character, and some might see that as a bad thing, especially when you consider that Battle for Bikini Bottom allowed you to control Sandy and Patrick as well with their own abilities. On the other hand, I like this change. They've given SpongeBob more abilities of his own, and you spend less time switching between characters and more time advancing through the game. For example, only Sandy in Battle for Bikini Bottom could grapple onto objects and swing. They've simply just given this ability to SpongeBob, and it just works. There's no need to switch between characters, and I don't feel like there's anything lost by going this route. There's combat in the Cosmic Shake, and it's okay. It's nothing special, but like anything else in the game, it doesn't get in your way. Most grunts will run straight at you and take one shot to eliminate. Others include this guy who sprays tartar sauce at you, this brute who swings a bathtub, and this blob that spawns more grunts. SpongeBob's weapon for most of the game is his bubble wand. He can blow bubbles to lock enemies in place or swing it around to strike enemies. Late into the game, you get access to the reef blower, where you can suck up enemies in it and shoot out a projectile once your meter is full. I would have liked to see this put to more use throughout the game, but I'm glad it's here anyway. At the end of each world, you're tasked with taking down the boss, which is usually one of your friends. I really enjoyed Sandy's boss fight at the end of the film level, where she's wearing Bruce Lee's famous yellow jumpsuit. When the fight starts, she's in a big hamster wheel and charges it at you. You have to line up the wheel with the explosive barrels, which then exposes her to a swift kick to the head. Each additional hit on Sandy adds another layer onto the fight, so after the first hit, she starts pinballing the wheel off the walls to hit you. After the second hit, these bouncers circle around her in an attempt to hit you. After the third hit, she's done and the boss fight is complete. Every boss follows this structure, it's consistent, and you always know what to expect before you get to this point in the level. For all of its positives, there are some negatives to the Cosmic Shake, and I'd like to discuss them now. While the game does stand on its own with its humor, I do feel like its callbacks to the show sometimes hurt it. Like I stated earlier, I loved seeing the settings and the characters from the show, but there was one running gag throughout the game that kept making an appearance that I felt got stale very quickly. There's one specific joke where it cuts away from the animation to display a hyper-detailed close-up of a character. It's a recurring joke on the show, and it's usually pretty funny, but this game made me realize what made it so funny wasn't the grossness of the still, but the delivery of the joke itself. The gross-out shot is simply the visual gag, whereas the line itself is the punchline. For example, one of my favorite examples of this joke in the show is from the episode Life of Crime. In this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick are on the run after stealing a balloon. They only have 2 candy bars, one for each of them to eat, and Patrick decides he's gonna eat it right then and there. After eating it, he completely forgets that he just ate it and tries to blame SpongeBob for taking it. And well, then this happens.
You took my only food! Now I'm gonna starve!
It's funny because the dialogue is in such stark contrast to the image we're seeing. By comparison, there's a part in the Cosmic Shake where Larry the Lobster is talking about having an allergy to eye patches. It then just abruptly flashes the image on the screen, and then SpongeBob goes on like it never even happened. It's not funny, and if anything, it's just gross. I mean, maybe kids nowadays find this sort of thing funny. I don't know, I can't speak for them, I'm not a kid, but it just didn't land for me. And the worst part of it is that this joke was repeated again and again and again throughout the game. It got to a point where I would briefly look at the image and skip to the next dialogue quickly. None of those jokes stuck, and I think if they were less frequent or written in a different way, they'd have been more shocking or funny. Some people might also take offense to the length of the Cosmic Shake. I completed the game in just under 8 hours, about 1 hour per level. Now, I didn't 100% the game, and I'm sure you could squeeze a few more hours out of it if you did. This would involve you collecting more of the Cosmic Jelly, unlocking more costumes, and completing side quests. See, I didn't even discuss the side quests, but that's just because they're so forgettable and they felt like busy work. So after you complete a level, you come back to Bikini Bottom and a character will have a red flag above their head. You talk to said NPC, that character then tells you to find X number of objects and bring them back to them. Afterwards, you're given a gold doubloon, and after you've gotten a certain number of these, a new tier of costumes are able to be purchased. The problem is that the costumes are purely cosmetic, which is fine in the case of the DLC that they're selling on the Steam store, but the in-game unlockable ones serve no purpose beyond this. I don't know, it's fine in the context of the existing game, but I just didn't have any desire to pursue these costumes, especially seeing how each level has its own specific themed costume anyways. But like I was saying regarding the length, it's 8 hours long at minimum, but the game isn't a full-priced release either, instead selling for $40 at launch. Is 8 hours of gameplay for $40 worth it to you? Ultimately, that's up to you to decide, but in my opinion, I believe it's worth that price. It checks all of my boxes for not only a SpongeBob game, but also a platformer. And I believe it's one of the best, if not the best, SpongeBob game currently on the market. It captures the tone and vibe of the show perfectly, with its authentic voice cast, fluid animations, bright colors, and for the most part, excellent writing. As a game, it's engaging and a blast if you're into 3D platformers like I am. It's structured in a very old school way, with mini games and other segments to break up the monotony. Pick this one up, you will not be disappointed. As for me, I'm NoMooreMercy, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching this far, and I wanted to use this moment to talk to you about my exciting partnership. I have officially been accepted as a Humble partner. If you use my link in the description to make a purchase on the Humble store, Humble Choice, or even a Humble bundle, I receive a cut. This is the best way to currently support the channel, and I appreciate your continued support. Whether it be through purchases, views, comments, or criticisms, I appreciate all of it. As always, have a good one.